leader of the TUV, Jim Allister, joining us now. Good morning to you, Jim.
Good morning.
The Chief Constable, Simon Byrne, within the South Armagh policing review, he is recommending that there should be an agreement explored with the Northern Ireland Department of Justice and the Irish Department of Justice to bring joint rather than parallel policing to Northern Ireland.
They're quite an appalling and wholly political proposition, which I've already had a meeting this morning, as it happened, with the Chief Constable Singleton, made my views on this South Armagh report very clear. The very idea that you would surrender jurisdiction and give the Garda jurisdiction within Northern Ireland, of course, is of immense, not just policing, but constitutional significance. And to have a Chief Constable who, of course, had this report produced in a frenzy of pandering to those who objected to him daring to appear with the necessity of rifles on show in South Armagh. This is a Chief Constable who's entirely lost the run of himself if he thinks that is ever acceptable. And if we had a policing board which endorsed that, then that's fine that unionists on that policing board demonstrated their opposition by removing themselves from it, if that were to happen, because that would be a total surrender of sovereignty in policing terms, capped then by the fact and complemented by the fact that you would remove to the furthest back corridor any memorial or reference to many gallant officers who gave up their lives when the rest of us were living in relative comfort and in security. There were police officers in South Armagh who put their lives on the line, who paid with their lives, who rightly had their names immortalised in memorials at the front of the stations and so that they could be never forgotten.
Well, they're now to be moved out of public sight.
Relegated out of public sight. Why? Because they're an embarrassment? Because they offend Sinn Féin? Because they are a reminder that a party of government was the spokesman who still justifies the murder of those police officers? Really? This Chief Constable has undoubtedly lost the run of himself. If this is
well, it is explained within this report that it is the view of the Chief Constable and those making the proposals that to remove the memorials out of public sight would, quote, provide a more respectful private space for reflection on the losses and trauma of the past.
Sorry, there's nothing respectful about removing them. It's disrespectful. The Chief Constable is disrespecting the sacrifice of those officers, disrespecting the fact that they were put their lives, put us between safety and trouble, and paid with their lives. He is totally disrespecting those officers, and it is shame on the Chief Constable that makes such a proposition, which does complement the very idea that he hasn't even got a feel for the sovereignty and jurisdiction of the PSNI, that they would come to the point of wanting to share that and indeed give jurisdictional authority to a foreign police force within the territory of Northern Ireland. That is not acceptable.
Well, it's under the heading of cross-border patrolling and hot pursuits. It is obviously advantageous if a police force doesn't have to stop at a border if it is pursuing terrorists.
It says more than that. It says as a minimum.
It does.
And it moves to joint policing. That means joint authority on policing. And that is where this is going. Joint authority on policing to complement an attempted move of Northern Ireland out of its sovereignty as part of the United Kingdom. And policing, of course, is a manifestation
Simon
of that sovereignty.
Simon Byrne is also proposing joint policing committees to be set up within 1 to 2 years in Northern Ireland. Joint policing committees.
Which would be joint with the Garda to give sovereignty and control over policing within the jurisdiction of what's supposed to be part of the United Kingdom. That's a preposterous proposition. It is utterly unacceptable, and it for me underscores why this is a Chief Constable unfit for office.
Well, he's got operational independence. He's got operational independence. He can do this whether you like it or not.
Well, you say that, but this is much more than operational. This is constitutional. This is about deciding what United Kingdom. That's much more than operational. That is constitutional. That is legal authority, and that is something which he cannot do on his own and should not be tolerated.
You said, Jim, that you put this all to Assistant Chief Constable Bobby Singleton. How did he reply?
Well, in the usual PSNI way. Oh, let's wait and see what the Chief Constable says about this report. But, it's quite clear this report was produced in order to pander to certain Republican interests in South Armagh, and it will be welcomed, I no doubt. Probably even tell us it didn't go far enough by those interests, but it is utterly unacceptable to anyone who cares about the unity of the United Kingdom, about the fact we are part of the United Kingdom, who cares about remembering those who gave their lives to defend us as part of the United Kingdom, and it is the preparation for moving us out of the United Kingdom. That is all quite clear to me when I read this report.
Jim Alistair, thank you. Brandon from